Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Very warm greetings to all of you from Bangalore. Very good morning. I am very fortunate that I have been given a chance to present before you in this conference. This is Professor Sharma Rachakonda from Bangalore speaking to you. The title of our talk today is The Parable of Gargya and Ajatasatru from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Once upon a time, there lived a learned scholar in our motherland. He was called Gargya Balaki, or simply called as Gargya hereafter. He proudly considered himself to be the knower of supreme truth. The supreme truth. Dialogue between Gargya and Ajatasatru on the Brahman is the parable for us to empower us to learn the concept of Brahman, the absolute. This famous colloquy finds the expression in the first Brahmanam or subchapter of the chapter 2 of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Once, Gargi went to the king Ajatasatru and said, I shall teach you all about the Brahman. Ajatasatru was highly pleased for an opportunity to know more about the Brahman from this learned scholar. He received Gargya with all due respect. Maybe I will restart, sir. I made a mistake. Can you do that? Or continue recording? I will continue from here. You can trim off. Okay. Okay, sir. Hello. Are you there? Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm again restarting from the beginning because I made a small mistake in the pronunciation. It is Gargya, not Gargi.
No problem. Please go ahead. I will edit that.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay,
sir. Please go ahead.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Very good morning and warm greetings to all of you, my dear delegates. This is Professor Sharma Rachakonda speaking from Bangalore. Now, I have so bad. I'm starting again, don't worry. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Good morning to all revered delegates. Warm greetings to all of you from Bangalore and pranams. This is Professor Sharma Rachakonda from Bangalore speaking to you on the topic The Parable of Gargya and the Ajatasatru from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I am immensely happy and thankful to the organizers of the Waves Conference for giving me an opportunity to present before you a few points of understanding related to this particular parable. Once upon a time, there lived a learned scholar in our motherland. He was called Gargya Balaki, or simply called hereafter Gargya for our convenience. He proudly considered himself to be the knower of the perfect supreme truth. The dialogue between Gargya and Ajatasatru on the Brahman is the parable for us to empower us to learn the concepts of the Brahman, the absolute. This famous colloquy finds the exposition in the first Brahmanam or subchapter of chapter 2 of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay? Now, once Gargya went to the king Ajatasatru and said, I shall teach you all about the Brahman. Ajatasatru, the king, was highly pleased for an opportunity to know more about the Brahman from the learned scholar. He received Gargya with all due respect and he said, Fortunate I am for being your choice to teach me. Together, they sat and started this colloquy. Here follows the profound discussion indeed. Thus goes the parable. Gargya started to explain what the Brahman is and said, I meditate upon the persona of the sun as the Brahman. Ajatasattu humbly replied, respected sage, one may contemplate and meditate upon the sun, but not as suggested by you to be the Brahman absolute. The reason is the sun, with all the glory and divinity, is but only a conditioned or differentiated form of the Brahman. You suggest this conditioned form as the absolute, unconditioned Brahman. I prefer no more discussion on this. If this much is what you intend to teach me as the Brahman, said the king. Now, Gargya continued, I meditate upon the persona of the moon as the Brahman. Hearing this, the king humbly replied, Sir, I meditate upon the moon, but not as suggested by you to be the Brahman, the absolute. The reason is, moon is only a conditioned form of the Brahman, but you strongly suggest that this conditioned form is the absolute, unconditioned Brahman. I prefer no more discussion on this. If this much is what you intend to teach me as the Brahman. In this manner, the colloquy between Gargya and Ajatasattu went on and on. Gargya pointed out that he meditates as the Brahman upon the persona of the Vidyut, the lightning, the Akasha, the space, the Vayu, the air, the Agni, the fire, the Jalam, the water, and the Adarsha, mirror, and the Shabda, the sound, and also the quarters are the Diks, and the Chaya are the shadow. And finally, Atman Viha also he proposed, means individual intellect or buddhi. And that completes Gargya's exposure about the understanding of Brahman. He contemplates these as Brahman, the absolute. But every time Gargya suggested a new understanding as the Brahman absolute, King Ajatasattu methodically refuted with a fresh explanation about the conditioned nature of the proposed Brahman. The king said, is this much all? Is the knowledge of Brahman you wish to impart? Or is there anything else that you need to tell? Then Gargya said, this is all, my dear king. The king replied, by knowing this much conditioned Brahman, one cannot claim to know the Brahman, the absolute. At that instance, Gargya realized that there was evidently something more of the Brahman, which was not in his comprehension, and remained completely silent without any elucidation further to offer. Gargya aspired to know the true nature of the Brahman, the absolute, and surrendered himself to the king as his disciple. He pleaded with the king to impart him the right knowledge of the Brahman. Ajatasattu took Gargya by both his hands, befriended with him, and said, Sir, you are the deserving teacher, and you please remain so. I shall try to share my humble understanding of the Brahman, and started enlightening him about the Brahman, not as his teacher, but as his peer or co-student. His intention was not to showcase his supremacy, but to impart the real knowledge about the Brahman. What follows is a revelation indeed. The king and Gargya went to a man who was fast asleep in certain part of the palace. The king gently called out the sleeping man by his name, Oh Somaraja, wake up, wake up. But the sleeping man did not get up. Then the king pushed Somaraja again and again with his hands until he woke up. Using this illustration, the king explained the awareness of the Brahman, the absolute. This is the parable. The king said, O Gargya Muni, who is this Somaraja? Who is the being in him that is aware of the place, time, and relationship? By that awareness of Chaitanya, he is known as the Vijnanamaya Purusha. Known as the Vijnanamaya Purusha. He is aware when wakeful. But when he is in deep sleep, where is this awareness principle in him residing? What happened to that? From where did it come back into the Jagat state once we woke him up? Gargya said, Oh dear king, I know not the answers to your profound questions. Please explain me. Ajatasattu continued thus, this person whom we were referring to, Somaraja, is very much the experiencer of the events, relationships, things, people around when he is awake in the Jagrat state. He went into deep sleep without any contact with his wakeful world and experiences. In such a state of total dissolution of all wakeful experiences, he is known to be Swapiti in Sanskrit, Swapiti. At the time, all the cognitive functions of his sensory and motor organs and the internal organs such as mind and intellect have come to naught and are dissolved or hidden, just as the skills of a sculptor are hidden in him when he is not sculpting, just as the painting skills of a painter are hidden in him when he is not painting. From the above, it was evident that the being whom the king wanted to convey as Brahman was not the agent and experiencer in the body. How can one conclude so? In the waking state, the conditioned, limited consciousness, which is the agent and experiencer, and the unconditioned Atma Chaitanya have got mixed up. There are two things, the conditioned, limited consciousness and the agent experiencer, and the Atma Chaitanya inside, which is the unconditioned one, both got mixed up. In this state, the Purusha in him is called as Vishwa. In the Jagrat state, the Purusha is called Vishwa. In between the wakeful state and the deep sleep, he also enjoys his dream or Swapna state, in which his mind experiences all imaginary things, though in fact he is not the doer or enjoyer of them in the sleep. He dreams as though he is a king or as a beggar or an animal or any other imagination. In that state, the Purusha in him is called the Taijasa. So the Purusha in the Swapni state is called the Taijasa. Extension of this analogy to the dream of the waking world is an imaginary long-term dream. So the sleep is a temporary dream. This world, waking world, is a long-term imaginary dream. After the dreaming state, one is in deep sleep or Sushupti, wherein all the experiences and cognitions are totally dissolved. During the deep sleep, there is no play of either the external organs, such as the motor and the sensory, or the internal organs like the mind, buddhi, ahankara, and the chitta. All these have retreated inward and merged with the Atma Chaitanya or inner consciousness, which alone powers the body to act as an agent and experiencer. In this state, the Purusha in him is called the Prajna. So now we have the wakeful state, the Vishwa, the Swapna state, the Taijasa, and the deep sleep state. He is the Prajna. The internal abode of this Vijnanamaya Purusha in his resting state is referred to as Puritati. This internal abode of this Vijnanamaya Purusha in his resting state is referred to as Puritati. This state is the actionless, cognitionless, total state of silence. Ajatasatru, when they just called him, they could not arouse him. All his sensory organs were dissolved in the deeper Puritati. But when all his sensations were together stimulated as a complex and a conglomeration, the Vijnanamaya Purusha is brought back into Jagrat, and all his organs and mind came into contact with the external world and experienced the wakefulness. This proves that the consciousness of Chaitanya is very subtle, very sukshma, and is quite different from the body and sensory organs or motor or inner organs. All the internal and external organs are connected to this limiting adjunct body, mind, and intellect or BMI. Therefore, the organs being absorbed, the self rests and rejoices in its own self. The self rests and rejoices in its own self. This relative, limited, conditioned, transmigrating self is the same as the transcendental, eternal, limitless, unconditioned Brahman. This identity is the exalted state of Jiva Brahma Aikyatvam, comprehended by the authority of the scriptures or Sabda Pramana and not by any other means or Pramana. In the world, a spider moves along with its own threads, which are not different from itself, and there is no other auxiliary to its movement but it itself. Likewise, from one homogeneous fire, tiny sparks, little specks of fire emanate in different ways in all directions or in many numbers. In the same way, from the Brahman emanate as all organs, all the worlds, all the gods, all the beings, and its secret name in the Upanishad is known as the truth of the truth. What is that? It is the truth of the truth. The vital force referred to is the prana or the truth, and the Brahman is the truth of the truth. Satyasya satyam. Satyasya satyam, truth of the truth. Turiya is a state of continuum in and through all the three above states, the Jagrat, the Swapna, and the Sushupti. So how do we interpret this story? All of us experience the three states, the wakeful, the dreaming, and the deep sleep. All our indriyas and internal organs too are in full play and function in the Jagrat and wakeful state. But in the Swapna state or the dreaming state, our mind alone is in full flow, imagining even the unimaginable. But all our indriyas, buddhi, are withdrawn inward into the subtle consciousness. In the Sushupti or the deep sleep, none, including the mind, is actively functioning, and all our equipment of cognition, comprehension, memory, and outflow responses are completely, although temporarily, withdrawn into the subtle or individual consciousness or Jiva Chaitanya. This Jiva Chaitanya is also called Sakshi Chaitanya, the witness consciousness, which is in full play in all the above three states. This is referred to as the state of Turiya, a state of continuum of the Sakshi Chaitanya in and through all the three above states in us. This story verily demonstrates that neither the Sakshi Chaitanya, neither the body nor the indriyas and the mind are the true experiencer sans the play of Sakshi Chaitanya. We all cognize the world of plurality. We all cognize the world of plurality only with the full play of the inner Sakshi Chaitanya. This individual consciousness, highly differentiated, limited, manifest as name and form, highly conditioned, Triguna Sahita, perishable, is the Jiva. What is the Jiva? This is the individual consciousness as opposed to the universal consciousness, as opposed to the supreme consciousness. This individual consciousness of the Jiva is highly differentiated, limited, manifest as name and form, highly conditioned, Triguna Sahita, and perishable, also known as immanent or Vyashti or Kshara Purusha. Kshara, Akshara, Parama. Three levels of Purushas are described in Gita. Let us interpret the first half of the parable now. Here, Gargya pointed out to the king various universal consciousness manifest as Saguna, Sakara, conditioned, manifold, divine aspects like the sun, the moon, the Agni, the Vidyut, etc. But he could not comprehend or meditate on the absolute. This aspect of the Brahman is known as, which aspect? This visible aspect of various divinities of the Brahman is known as, in the most primeval form, as the Hiranyagarbha Prajapati or the Hiranyagarbha Brahma. All the celestial divine beings are but his differentiated form. He is also called the universal consciousness or the Samishti consciousness or the Virat Purusha or the Akshara Purusha, as opposed to the Kshara Purusha, who is the individual consciousness. Here is the universal consciousness or the Virat Purusha as the Akshara Purusha. Gargi's concept of the Brahman stops short here with the Akshara Purusha. But indeed, the Brahman, absolute, is the supreme consciousness. So we have an individual consciousness, we have the Virat Purusha, the universal consciousness, and the supreme consciousness above, which is unmanifest, Nirakara, nirguna, unconditioned, formless, from which spring forth the created world of beings, things, the divine, the effulgent forces of nature, and whatnot. This alone is called Paramatma or Parabrahma or Paramapurusha. So now we have the universal consciousness, the Akshara Purusha, and the supreme consciousness, the Paramapurusha, as opposed to the individual consciousness, which is the Sakshi Chaitanya. So this Paramapurusha is also called Transcendental Brahman. Everything emanates from him. In such a case, contemplation and meditation on any one or more of the differentiated, conditioned, limited, and manifest forms of the Brahman. If we meditate on any conditioned part of the Brahman, omnipotent, unmanifest, undifferentiated, will be but only a limited cognizance of the Paramatma or the Brahman, the Absolute. In Advaita philosophy, Parabrahma is unity, oneness, undivided, unfragmented, formless whole. What is that? Unity, Ekameva, Advitiyam, oneness, undivided, unfragmented, Nirakara, formless, and Purnam, the whole. But plurality, divisiveness, discrimination, relativity is best described as Bhinnatvam or Avidya. The Sakshi Chaitanya in Somaraja is the Akshara Purusha. The various forms of the Brahman proposed by Gargya is the Akshara Purusha. And what is demonstrated in this parable as the what is demonstrated as the ultimate in this parable is the Paramapurusha. So now let us conclude our talk. Understanding thus, in the light of non-dual nature of the Brahman, there is ever only one witness, the real self or the Atman, which is itself identical to Brahman, the Absolute. Upanishad is teaching us here the awareness of the Brahman removes the dualism of the witness and the witnessed. There is always a dualism of the witness and the witnessed, the knower and the known. Thereafter, only the witness itself remains, the knower alone. When the pot is broken, the space it encloses, the ghatakasha, the part space, is lost. But it is not lost, but it merges with the mathakasha, the space in the house. When the house is demolished, that entire house space is not lost, but merges with the chidakasa, the universal space. It is thus established that it is the ignorance or the avidya or maya on the part of the observer in which the reality of the Brahman is lost amid the mirage of maya. It is only by the recognition of the unity of all things that the two, the world and the Brahman, become one. Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya is at his best in presenting the discussion in his eloquent analysis or bhashya on the Dashopanishads, and Brihadaranyaka is the highlight of it. In his hands, Hinduism underwent an intellectual catharsis, shedding the dross of dead ritual and decadence. Advaita Siddhanta emerged to feed sweet reason and nourished the then weakened soul of Vedic philosophy. Shankaracharya saw universal oneness, which allowed him to relate as much to the sophisticate as to the rustic, lovingly helping them along in their quest from the human to the divine. The Bhashya on Brihadaranyaka holds a lofty mirror to Sri Shankara Bhagavad Pada's genius, our obeisance to the Jagadguru. The message, the take-home message for this talk is: this comprehension does not desist one from Sakara Aradhana or the form worship, but prepares one to look at the unity in diversity as the ultimate understanding. One must learn to embellish in thought, action, and word the oneness, universal Brahman, the Absolute, and in and through any form of worship, meditation, or contemplation, and ushers in us universal brotherhood, equanimity, equality, and tolerance. In this apparent plurality that meets our mundane mind, raising ourselves above the innumerable divisions and ascending ourselves onto that pedestal of unity is verily the evolution as a human being. That is the purpose, sine qua non, of our spiritual study. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Tat Sat.